Are you thinking about running Google ads but worried you'll mess up? Or maybe you've already tried but nothing worked. Either way, you're in the right place. Most people treat running ads like gambling in Vegas. You hit launch, cross your fingers, and hope that the algorithm smiles on you. But here's the part that nobody tells you. Success isn't about getting it right the first time. It's about getting something live so you can learn what actually works. You see, your first ad isn't supposed to work perfectly. It's supposed to collect the data that teaches you how to build the one that does. So let me show you how to flip that fear of getting it wrong into a shortcut to results. Because the people who win with Google ads aren't the most experienced. They're the ones who launch fast, learn faster, and iterate without ego. I've helped thousands of business owners go from ineffective campaigns to funnels that quickly book 5 to 10 calls a week because they stopped chasing the perfect ad and started testing smart. Think of it like baking your first cake from a boxed mix. You might forget the oil, or maybe it's a little dry, but guess what? You still baked a cake. And your second? Way better. But your 10th, well, that's when people start asking for a second slice. But we'll talk more about cake in a minute. Anyway, ads work the same way. You get better by doing. So in this video, I'm going to show you why your bad ad is secretly the most valuable one you'll run, how to use early feedback to build a campaign that actually scales, and the 5-step formula to launch your first or next ad in under 30 minutes without wasting time, money, or sanity. Because once you launch, you learn. And once you learn, you win. By the way, if you've ever struggled with Google Ads or just want to follow along and launch your first real campaign, make sure to click the link in the descriptions below to grab your free spot in the upcoming live Google Ads workshop. It's beginner friendly, 100% free, and comes with a high-level trial so you can test everything out as you go. So with that said, let's dive into strategy number 1. Strategy number 1. Launch fast, learn faster. Let's start with a question that wrecks more ad campaigns than any keyword ever could. What if I mess up? That one thought right there has killed more momentum than bad copy, broken links, or accidentally blowing $500 on the wrong audience. The fear of getting it wrong doesn't just slow you down, it paralyzes you. And before you know it, 2 months go by, and your Google Ads strategy is still a half-written note in your Notion doc. So let's flip that on its head right now. Here's the truth. Your first ad will probably suck, but that's exactly what you want. And here's why. Imagine this. You've never baked anything before. Not a cookie, not a muffin, but you stroll into the kitchen, you grab a box of cake mix, you crack a few eggs, mix it all together, and then shove it in the oven. Is it gonna be good? Maybe, but probably not. You might forget the oil, you might underbake it, you might use salt instead of sugar because you got distracted listening to a podcast about dopamine detoxing. But guess what? You still baked a cake. You didn't think about baking a cake, you didn't research cake marketing trends, you made one. And here's the plot twist. Your second cake? 10 times better. Your third? Your friends start asking for a slice. Your 10th? You're making wedding cakes. All right, that might be a stretch. Well, that's how ads work too. The first version is just the warm-up. It's the bad draft that teaches you what your audience responds to. It's the data collecting machine that makes the next one sharper. But if you never press publish, you'll never know. Perfection is a lie that marketers whisper to themselves when they're afraid of starting. Here's what this looks like. You think you need the right copy, right targeting, right landing page, right funnel, all before you can launch. But while you're tweaking and tweaking and tweaking, someone else with half your talent is already running ads. They're learning and they're getting leads. Perfection stalls progress, and the people who win in ads aren't the smartest. They're the ones who iterate the fastest. And here's the irony. Trying to make the perfect ad without any real-world data is like designing a car before you've ever seen a road. You need feedback from clicks, from impressions, from actual human beings, and the only way to get that is to launch something. Even if it flops, it teaches you what not to do, which is insanely valuable. Strategy number 2. The real first goal of your ad isn't profit, it's feedback. Here's the mistake that most people make. They launch their first campaign and expect leads and sales and revenue and fireworks. Then they get a 1% click-through rate and think, well, I guess Google ads just don't work. Your first ad is a test. It's there to show you what your audience does not want so that you can start to figure out what they actually do want. Here's what a good first campaign actually tells you. First, what headlines get attention. Then, what offers get ignored. After that, what keywords drive clicks. It'll also tell you where your funnel leaks and where you're losing leads. Think of it as a marketing microscope. You're looking at your messaging under a lens and you're trying to see which parts are alive and which ones are dead. And just like a scientist, you don't throw the whole lab away when the first test doesn't work. You tweak, you refine, you test again. That's where the profit lives. Not in the first ad, but in the learning loop that it creates. A friend of mine, Sarah, runs a small interior design business. She kept talking about how she wanted to run Google Ads for months, but kept overcomplicating, well, pretty much everything. She spent weeks tweaking a landing page. She rewrote her ad copy at least 14 times. She changed her keyword match type so much that even Google was confused. Then finally, she launched one. And guess what? It bombed. One lead, $97 spent, total silence. But here's what she learned. Well, the first headline was just way too vague. Her call to action wasn't really that clear, and she was targeting national traffic when she only wanted local leads. So she relaunched with tighter targeting, clearer copy, and a stronger offer. And her second campaign, 4 leads in 3 days. And the only reason that she got that win was that she got the first failure out of the way. If you're sitting on an ad draft right now, scared to click go or hit publish, say this out loud with me. This isn't my final version. This is my first round of data. Because that's all it is. You're collecting responses, not chasing perfection. And here's the part that nobody talks about. Some of the best campaigns started out completely different. They got better because the creator launched before they felt ready. Here's a super simple formula that you can use right now to get your first campaign live without spinning in circles. Step 1, choose one offer. Not 5, 1. What's the main thing that you want someone to take action on? Step 2, write one benefit-driven headline. Something like, get more local clients with this one strategy. If you're stuck and still can't quite figure it out, use this framework. How to, desirable result, without annoying problem. Step 3, target based on intent. Use search keywords that suggest people are ready to act. For example, best CRM for coaches is way better than what is a CRM. Step 4, set a small daily budget. $10 to $20 a day is enough to get data without going broke. Step 5, launch. Then wait. Don't touch it for 3 days. Let the data speak. Then, and only then, do you optimize. Everyone wants the scalable ad system that runs in the background and generates sales on autopilot, but almost no one is willing to eat the humble pie of that first, slightly embarrassing campaign. But the people who win with Google Ads, they start scrappy, they test fast, they get data, and then they build campaigns that print money. So stop trying to win the ad Olympics on your first lap. Get something live, learn fast, improve quicker. Because one day soon, you're gonna look back at that messy first ad and laugh. And then you'll check your calendar and see 5 sales calls booked automatically, and you'll know exactly why. Strategy number 3. If you're not following up, you're just paying for website tourists. All right, let me ask you something brutal. What happens after someone clicks your ad? If your answer is, they go to my website, well, congratulations. You've just described 99% of failed campaigns. Because if that's where your strategy ends, here's what you're really doing. You're paying money to be someone's browser tab. And about 6 seconds after they land on your page, you're closed. Not just the tab, the deal. Welcome to the world of marketing museum tours. Lots of people walking around, no one buying. I appreciate that this is a tough pill to swallow, especially if you're new to ads. But clicks are not the goal. Getting someone to your website is easy. It's like giving away free samples at a grocery store. They take one bite, maybe they smile, then they move on, never to return. But Adam, I got 300 clicks last week. Cool, but how many sales? How many leads? How many conversations did you have? If you don't have a system that continues the conversation after the click, then you're not running ads, you're renting attention. Running an ad with no follow-up is like dropping a killer movie trailer and then never releasing the film. Imagine the hype. People are excited, they're ready to go, and then nothing. No link, no showtimes, no next step, so people move on. Same thing happens when you run ads without automation or follow-up. I mean, sure, you might get someone's curiosity. You might even get their click. But if you don't guide them beyond that, you're gonna lose them faster than a Netflix free trial. Okay, so at this point, maybe you're thinking, okay, fine, I'll just email them after they sign up. Problem solved. Well, not quite. Here's where most people mess it up. Their follow-ups either don't happen at all, come across as robotic, desperate, or annoying. They either go on forever without saying anything useful, or worst of all, they're just copy and paste templates with absolutely no context. Think of it like getting a text from someone after a first date that says, hey, I had a good time, buy my stuff. That's just weird. We're not trying to hard sell. We're trying to build trust, to continue the conversation in a way that feels natural and human and helpful. Let's rewire your brain for a second here. The moment someone clicks your ad, you're not selling to them. You're starting a relationship. And relationships aren't built on one message. They're built on moments of connection. So what does great follow-up actually look like? First, there's an instant response. Someone clicks, they get a message, an email, or an SMS acknowledging them and guiding them to the next step. Next, there's helpful content. You send them something valuable that answers a question that they're probably thinking about right now. After that, it's got a personal tone. It sounds like a real person wrote it, not a marketing robot in a tie. Then there's a clear CTA, a call to action. Every message has one next step, not 3, 1. And timing that makes sense. Not 7 messages in 24 hours, not radio silence for a week. I'm talking about consistent, intentional pacing. When done right, your follow-up is basically your silent sales rep. Charming, persistent, tireless. A friend of mine, Alex, runs a coaching business. He launched his first ad campaign and got 19 leads in the first week. Great, right? Except he only followed up with them once. Yeah, 1 email. Alex. That's like walking up to someone at a party, saying, "Hi," and then turning around and leaving the room. So, a month later, frustrated, he was about to shut the campaign down when I asked him, "Have you actually tried talking to those leads again?" So, we set up a 4-part follow-up sequence. The first one reintroduced himself. The second one told a quick story of how he helped someone in the same position. The third gave them a bite-sized win they could try immediately. And the fourth offered a free strategy call, no pitch. Within 48 hours, 2 of those leads booked a call. One became a client, $8,000, from leads he thought were dead. That's the power of a well-written human follow-up. Here's a simple rule of thumb that I really want you to remember. If it wouldn't work in real life, it won't work in your funnel. Would you meet someone once, then send them 9 straight messages about buying your thing? No, you have a conversation. So here's how to build follow-ups that feel good and convert. Message number 1, acknowledge and guide. Subject, got it. Here's what happens next. Just a simple message to say, "Hey, I saw you checked this out. Here's what to expect next." No pitch, just clarity. Message number 2, teach something useful. Share a mini win, tip, or insight that solves a small problem they likely have. Make them think, "Wow, this person really gets me." Message number 3, show social proof. Share a story or result that someone else got. It could be a testimonial, a client story, or even a quote from a DM. Message number 4, make a friendly ask. Invite them to book a call, to try your offer, or to reply with a question. Make it casual and pressure-free. Now, you might be thinking, "Okay, Adam, this all sounds great, but I don't have time to manually write emails and texts to everyone." Good, you're not supposed to. That's where automation comes in. Email autoresponders, SMS workflows, CRM tools that trigger messages based on behavior. You can set all of this up once and then just let it run. Every click gets the right message at the right time without you touching a thing. And you become a sales machine that runs 24/7 while you sleep, while you eat, or while you watch weirdly satisfying pressure washing videos on YouTube. But here's the truth that most people just don't want to hear. If your Google ads aren't working, it's probably not your ad. It's the black hole that your leads fall into after they click. So if you've been spending money on traffic but not turning it into results, it's time to stop thinking like a marketer and start thinking like a guide. Because in the end, people don't want ads, they want a path. And your job is to walk them down that path, one message at a time. Real quick here, if you want to skip the guesswork and just follow a proven system that gets leads and sales, well, make sure you register for the free Google Ads workshop. It's only open for a few more days, and you can save your spot by clicking the link down in the descriptions below. Okay, let's keep going with strategy number 4. Strategy number 4. If you can't prove what's working, you'll always feel like it's failing. Let me paint you a picture. You launch an ad, you get clicks, you see traffic, you feel excited. Then, silence. So what do? Well, if you're like most people, you panic. You tweak the headline, you change your budget, you redo your offer, and still, nothing. Yay, ads! You think, maybe I'm just bad at this. Maybe ads don't work for me. But here's what's actually going on. You, my friend, are flying blind. Because if you can't prove what's working, you're always going to feel like it's failing, even when it's not. Here's what most people do after launching a Google Ads campaign. First, they watch the numbers obsessively. Next, they have no idea what those numbers mean. Then, they feel like a genius when the clicks go up, but they also feel like a failure when the clicks go down. Then they change something, anything, out of pure panic. It's emotional whiplash, and it's completely avoidable if you actually know what you're looking at. Sadly, most advertisers don't. They stare at dashboards, looking at it like it's ancient Greek. CTR is up? Is that good? ROAS is down. Do I cry now? So, let's fix that. You don't launch an ad just to sell something. You launch it to learn what's actually working. I'm talking which message gets attention, what headline grabs clicks, which keywords bring buyers and not just browsers, and where are people falling off. That's what real tracking gives you. It turns your ad campaign into a microscope. Without it, you're just playing darts with your eyes closed and wondering why nothing's hitting the board. Imagine this for a second. Your house gets broken into, so you call a detective. Now, imagine that detective walks into your house, looks around and goes, feels like the burglar was probably tall. Maybe. Anyway, case closed. You'd be mad, right? After all, you don't want vibes, you want proof. You want fingerprints, security footage, shoe size, hair color, motive. Well, that's what tracking gives you. Your ad should be your detective. It shows you what happened, where, and why. It tells you what's working, what's broken, and what to fix. And without that, you're just guessing, and guesses don't scale. All right, let's simplify the whole spaghetti mess that is ad metrics. Because you don't need 400 columns and pivot tables. You just need these 3 things. Number 1, lead tracking. What happens after someone clicks? Did they fill out a form, book a call, buy something, ghost you completely? Without this, you're just paying for visitors, and visitors aren't buyers. Number 2, source attribution. It's a fancy word, but really it just means where did they come from? Was it the search ad targeting best fitness coach? Was it the one offering a free consultation? Was it a retargeting campaign? If you don't know where your best leads come from, you'll never know where to double down. Number 3, sales conversion. How many leads turned into actual cash? Not likes, not clicks, sales. You want to know your ROAS, which stands for return on ad spend, and you want to know it like it's your blood type. I actually don't even know my blood type. Bad example. If you spend $200 on ads and make $1,200 in sales, your ROAS is 6x. Now, you've got a money printer. It's important to remember that clicks don't pay your bills, conversions do. And this is where most people just mess it up completely. They get addicted to what looks good, not what works. My CTR is 7%. I got 1,000 impressions in an hour. My CPC is under $1. Cool, but did anyone buy? Here's the brutal truth. A campaign with fewer clicks but better conversions will outperform your high CTR, low results ad every single time. If you're not tracking sales, you're not doing marketing, you're doing performance theater. All right, this next one hurts. A friend of mine, let's call him Matt, I changed his name from Mark so he wouldn't get mad at me for telling this story. Well, he blew $40,000 on an ad campaign and thought it completely tanked. Like, light your money on fire kind of bad. His dashboard showed a low CTR, barely any engagement, and he was ready to pull the plug. But before he did, he checked his CRM. Turns out, 2 leads had quietly come through. No bells or whistles. One of them turned into a $25,000 client. The other, a $15,000 retainer. $40,000 out, $40,000 back in. Not great, but here's the kicker. Had he not tracked where the actual sales came from, he would have shut down the campaign and missed both. Without tracking, it looked like failure. But with tracking, it was break even with proof that it could scale. That's the difference between losing money and building a machine. If you're thinking, this sounds complicated, don't worry. You don't need 12 dashboards and a PhD in data science. You just need a few basics. First, UTM tags. These are little links that you attach to your ads to see exactly where your traffic is coming from. Next, conversion tracking. Set up through Google Ads or inside your CRM, and you're gonna see which clicks turn into actions. Then, pipeline stages. If you use a tool like High Level, you can visually track leads as they move through your funnel, from click to close. Once you've got this in place, your marketing goes from guesswork to actual strategy. Here's a simple cheat sheet to help keep your brain sane. There's 3 columns: the metric, should you obsess over it, and why. The first metric is click-through rate, and no, you should not obsess over it, because it only tells you who's curious and not who's buying. Next is cost per click, or CPC, and sometimes you should obsess over it. Why? Well, lower is better, but not if it brings in unqualified leads. Then there's conversion rate. You should definitely obsess over this one. This shows who's actually taking action. After that, cost per lead. Yes, obsess about this too. It helps you scale without overpaying. And finally, ROAS, return on ad spend, and you should absolutely obsess over this, as this is the one metric to rule them all. If you're running ads without solid tracking, you're not in control, you're just reacting. But when you track the right things, well, you know which ad is working, you know where your best customers come from, and you know which levers to pull when you want to scale your campaign up. And that's when marketing gets fun. Super mega profitable, because now you're not guessing, you're optimizing, you're scaling, you're running a business, not just playing with buttons. So here's the challenge. Before you launch another campaign, set up your tracking, even if it's basic, even if it's manual at first, because clarity is power. And when you see what's working, you can do it again and again and again. Strategy number 5, Automate the whole system like a marketing cyborg. Let me describe something to you and feel free to tell me if it sounds familiar. You launch your Google ad, you get a few leads, you get excited, then the panic sets in. You're manually replying to emails, you're manually sending follow-ups, and you're manually juggling your calendar, your DMs, your life. Suddenly, you're not running a business anymore. You're duct taping it together in real time like some kind of caffeinated octopus with a Wi-Fi connection. And here's the kicker. If you don't fix this early, scaling just means suffering more. Yay, ads again. Here's the brutal truth. Leads are worthless if you can't manage them. And managing them manually, well, that's a ticking time bomb. Because every new lead that you get becomes another thing that you gotta remember. Did I email them yet? Did they open it? Should I follow up? Wait, did I send them the wrong link? You're building a house of cards, and it only takes one sneeze or an overdue follow-up for the whole thing to collapse. So, what's the fix? Well, it's simple. You need to automate. And not in a tech bro, blockchain, overcomplicated kind of way. I mean real, useful, beautifully boring automation that does three things. Number one, it follows up fast. Number two, it nurtures leads over time. And number three, it closes the loop without you having to chase people down. Let me show you what that looks like. Let's say you sell burgers. Now, imagine one version of your business is a food truck. You're making every burger yourself. You're taking every order. You're running the register and flipping the patties and refilling the ketchup. When there are 10 customers, you're busy. When there are 100 customers, you're drowning. That's manual. Now imagine a burger factory. Orders come in, the machines hum, ingredients get dropped in, wrapped up, and shipped out automatically. You're still feeding people, but you're not touching every burger. That's automation. Same product, different system. One burns you out, the other builds your empire. Let's kill a marketing myth right now. Automation isn't about turning your brand into a soulless robot. It's about creating predictable, repeatable systems that move leads forward without you having to micromanage every click and conversation. Here's what this looks like. Step one, lead comes in. Someone clicks your ad, fills out your form, boom, you've got a lead. Now, what usually happens? Well, most people do this. Nothing. They forget to check their email, the lead cools off, gone. What automation does, sends a welcome message, instantly, text or email, maybe even both. That message thanks them and sets expectations and links them to the next step, like booking a call. It's personal, it's fast, and it makes you look 10 times more professional than everyone else they just submitted a form to. Step two, follow-up begins, automatically. Let's say they don't book right away. That's normal, people are busy. So instead of waiting and hoping, your system kicks in. Day one, reminder email with a testimonial. Day three, text message. Hey, just checking in, any questions? Day five, value drop, a short video or story that solves a problem they're facing. You're not annoying them, you're helping them, and you're doing it without lifting a finger. Step three, lead books or buys. At this point, if they're a good fit and they've been properly nurtured, they book. But if they don't, you don't chase. You just move them into a longer term nurture sequence. Once a week, they get something helpful from you. Maybe one day, they're ready. Maybe not. But you didn't spend hours following up manually. You automated the first 80% of your sales process. That's freedom. A client of mine, Melissa, a health coach, set up a Google ad pointing to a lead form. Before automation, she'd get a lead, forget to follow up for a day or two, then send an awkward, hey, just following up email that sounded like every other coach on the planet. After automation, however, lead submits form, gets instant text and email, and boom, booking spike. We built a 5-step email sequence plus a super simple calendar integration, and by the end of the week, she had 6 new consults and one $1,500 client. She didn't chase, she just showed up to the calls. Everything else ran on rails. Now you can do this all manually, of course, but if you want your ads to work while you nap or snack or binge watch Netflix, then make sure to grab the free high-level trial from the workshop. The link is down below in the descriptions, and let the automations do the hard work for you. All right, here's a weird truth that most people miss. Speed equals trust. When someone submits their info and you respond instantly, you're not just automating, you're proving that you're reliable and attentive and serious. Sadly, most businesses leave people hanging, but when you follow up in seconds, kind of like whispering, you can count on me. That's powerful. That's rare. That's memorable. And that's why automation doesn't just increase efficiency, it increases conversions. You didn't start running ads to become your own admin assistant. You did it to grow your business. But growth without systems, that's just stress at scale. So if you've been manually following up with every lead, or copy and pasting the same email 27 times over, stressing over missed opportunities, it's time to stop working like a freelancer and start thinking like a founder. Because founders build machines. Founders build systems. Founders ask, how do I make this work without me? That's where the real growth lives. So automate, simplify, scale, and get back to doing the stuff you're actually great at. And if that clicked for you, you're gonna love what we cover inside the Google Ads workshop. It's free, super actionable, and designed to help you launch your first campaign by the end of the week. And hey, if you're still watching, you're clearly serious, so don't miss this. Register now and let's launch something great together. Click the link in the descriptions below, save your spot, and I'll see you on the inside.